So welcome again, everyone, to this offer holders open day for our MLitt Comparative Literature at the School of Modern Languages and Cultures. My name is Dr. Santi Grahelli, and I'm the program director. So throughout your year of study with us, I will be the main point of contact for you. So any questions that you may have either during or indeed before you start your program, please just get in touch. My email address is both on the program pages, but also on the last slide of this presentation. So feel free to make a note of it and write to me if you have any questions that come up later on, all right? So in putting together this presentation, I really wanted to include quite a few pictures from Glasgow. So you see this in the background of the slide images. As Glasgow, the city, is a big reason why many of our students choose to study with us. You have some data and some information here about Glasgow. Glasgow is a really creative city, and it has tons of museums of performative events, cinema festivals. It is also one of the things that people say very often about Glasgow is how friendly the people are there in the city. So really, when you choose to study with us, you are not only signing up to study at the university, but you will be immersed in a really nice environment within the city itself. We have, our university is a very old university. It was established in 1451, but it is also a university that very much strives for innovation and novelty, as is evidenced by how well it does in many of the university rankings across the board. And in particular, we do well in the College of Arts with our multiple research centers, the world-leading collections at the university, which started being established from the early days of its foundation. And it does very well in teaching specifically. We have a large postgraduate community in the College of Arts, and throughout your studies, you will have a lot of activities, a lot of resources that are available to you as a member of the College of Arts, and that allows you also to meet with students across other programs. Now, what about our MLitt specifically, the MLitt that you have applied for? We work in comparative literature with a very strong theoretical element. We have a strong emphasis on working across disciplines, and this will come up throughout your coursework and content as you study with us. We pay close attention to elements that are pioneering within the discipline, what is changing in the discipline. We strive to follow best pedagogical practice. So we often collect information and feedback from students so that we can continue improving and really making the most of the experience of students as part of one cohort and leading towards a better experience in the future. And only last week, the students from this year's cohort have provided a lot of feedback, which will be integrated into our plans for next year. Also, what about, I mentioned that we are engaged with cutting edge discipline development. We do this also by contributing to leading associations and societies in the field, and I sit on the executive board of the British Comparative Literature Association, which also means that you benefit from the networks and the opportunities that we can signal to you as part of these wider groups within the discipline. Now, in our MLitt specifically, we put a very strong emphasis on a student-led approach to building the curriculum. What does this mean in practice? It means that we want your own academic path to be designed and tailored according to your own interests. This means that you will have several one-to-one meetings with myself as program director to discuss possible ways forward, to have a conversation about how this MLitt specifically fits in with your own career plans and projects. So the first of such conversations we always have before the start of the academic year, when you are choosing your optional courses in the course catalog, and we want that selection to be meaningful for you and to really make the most of your time with us at Glasgow. And the program is structured specifically to allow for that flexibility. We have 2 core courses, which together account for 40 credits. You take each of those in one of the 2 taught semesters. And then you take up to 4 options, or for a total of 80 credits in total. One of these can come from undergraduate honors options. So when you look this up, this will be level 4 options in the course catalog. And then over the summer you will be working towards your dissertation, which counts for 60 credits. As you know, the program lasts for 12 months full time. Now, I think all of you today are international students, meaning that you have to take the course as a full-time course, but there are also options to take it as a part-time, which lasts 24 months. I'm going to give you a quick overview of our 2 core courses. The first core course, Introduction to Comparative Literature, you take in the first semester. So we start in September, we finish normally around the end of November. And we have designed this through a modular approach. We want you to find out about as many different ways of doing research in comparative literature as possible. So these individual weekly sessions will give you a strong element of exposure to different themes and different topics. This is to help you identify what your own preferred approach is, what resonates with your own interests, and you will then write an essay along those lines in that thematic area. And while we offer the content, we also run additional sessions to build up your academic skills and your graduate attributes. And all of your assessments are also designed to support you in that process. In semester 2, you become even more involved with the construction and creation of content. And that is our second core module, Comparative Literature in Practice. Now, as the name itself clearly indicates, this is very much based on a practice-led approach. It goes hand in hand with your dissertation project, meaning that in our program, unlike other programs elsewhere, you will receive support in developing your dissertation project throughout the second semester. So while you're only admitted to the dissertation after you've completed all of your taught components, that means that you will be very well prepared and set up to complete this project over the summer. And this gives you a lot of formative tasks of both peer feedback and tutors feedback. And we find this to be an excellent mix of interaction, because it means that we often have students sharing their projects, their ideas, and advising on one another. And that means that you really grow as a cohort together. And we see that particularly at precisely this time of year, as the students are preparing their presentations based on their dissertation projects. So as I said, you take up to 4 options or 80 credits worth of options. And we have a number of courses that are specifically designed for you as students with you in mind. I've listed these here, and I think I've included also the information in the welcome email you received when we issued you with your offer. The reading workshop in comparative literature is a module that gives you additional practice to working in comparative literature, and you will be working with primary text alongside theoretical materials. China in the West, Intellectuals and Knowledge Dynamics is led by my colleague, Dr. Hongling Lian, and it looks at the processes of westernization of China, and it takes a diachronic approach to considering the connections and the exchanges between China and the West. Postcolonial literature theory and visual culture takes a global approach in looking at world literature and how theory and visual elements come together in allowing us to understand more about world literature as a discipline. And finally, transnational constructions of gender takes a diachronic, but also a cross-spatial approach to understanding what gender means across different places and times. I thought you might like to see some of the colleagues that you are likely to encounter during your studies with us. These are just some of the names of people who contribute most to our program. And I won't mention them all, but as you can see, we have very much an interaction with our language-specific programs alongside comparative literature and our sister program, the MSc Translation Studies. So that means that if you have undertaken foreign language work as part of your previous degrees, you can still continue working with the language with experts in the area. Many of our students look for options outside of the main options that we have designed. Very often, students will choose to take a language, for example. There are also options offered by our MSc Translation Studies program, which fits very well with our own core provisions. So you can browse all of these possibilities and see if any of these may suit you. As I mentioned at the start, you can take up to 1 undergraduate option, and this happens quite often if there are themes that are not covered at postgraduate level, but have quite a specialized course for undergraduate degrees. And of course, there is an even greater degree of flexibility as we allow you to explore options available from across the College of Arts. You might be looking, for example, at English language or English literature, history of art, theology, classics, or Celtic studies. Quite a few students this year have been exploring creative writing options, and I know that this is likely to be of interest to some applicants this year, judging from your application. So remember that you can explore all of these possibilities by browsing the course catalog on the university website, and I recommend that you do so as a way also of finding inspiration and deciding what it is that you might like to pursue going forward as possible options. This is a master's program, so we are no longer lecturing you. We design our teaching provision through interactive seminars and workshops. And as I said, you also will have various one-to-one meetings, both with myself as program director, but also with other key members of staff throughout the duration of your program. We want to see also interaction among yourselves, and this takes the shape of group discussions and group assignments. And we also want to see you building up your own reflective practice. And this is really important for your work and professional practice going forward. We also regularly liaise with our external examiner in discussing and moderating assessment and feedback. The dissertation, which you write over the summer, is likely to be the single longest piece of work you will ever have produced in your career to date. As I mentioned, you start working on the dissertation in semester 2 as part of your core course provision and activities. And we support you in this process throughout the second semester. So this is very much something that you do as part of a community and being followed by myself as program director and also dissertation convener. Very often, though not necessarily, you may have an interest in pursuing further academic education. So we offer elements of training at program or college level in looking for PhD supervision and possibilities. You're also supported by a number of research clusters and centers within the School of Modern Languages and Cultures at Glasgow. But most of all, which is the first entry on this slide, your teaching will be research-led, so you will be taught by experts in their respective disciplines. I've said this already multiple times today, but I think it's really worth emphasizing how, for us, it is essential that you are really embedded within your course and within the postgraduate community in the School of Modern Languages and Cultures. The main thing I want to mention here is our annual postgraduate conference in Comparative Literature and Translation Studies, which this year we are holding as a face-to-face event after 2 years of online provision, and which is a space where traditionally MLitt students from this program will present posters on their research, but you're also encouraged to propose a paper if you feel like this would be a good opportunity for you to present your research for the first time. We very much want to support your career ambitions going forward alongside your work on our program. So remember that as part of the activities that we pursue together, there will be an emphasis on your graduate attributes, on what pathways you may be taking next. We work in tandem with our career service advisors, which remains available for you for up to 2 years after graduation. So it's very much an environment that aims to nourish you and keep in touch with you after you have completed your program with us. And finally, just a note about resources. I am a specialist in rare book materials, so I like to point out our library of special collections, of which you see an example here on the slide. We also have a lot of supporting resources. For example, the academic writing services, we work very intensively with my colleagues in the academic writing unit. And you will be encouraged throughout your program to engage both with the resources that they put together, but also with individual meetings that you can book through the university. Our School of Modern Languages language library is now part of the main library, and the Hunterian Museum is also within our campus, and indeed often where we hold the graduations at the end of the year. So I hope I haven't bored you too much, but I really wanted to give you quite a broad overview. I will be stopping the recording here, but I just want to highlight that you are welcome to get in touch at any point with questions. I have put my email on this slide, santi.grahelli@glasgow.ac.uk, and also feel free to follow me on Twitter as well if you would like to engage in that form. So I will stop the recording here and welcome any questions you may have.